Take that out the video.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Ryan back here. So in the previous video, what we went over was the removal of the exhaust, replacement of the new clutch cable, and the replacement of the new brake line for our handlebars. While we're at this stage now, we are going to shift gears and we're going to take a break from the handlebars. We're going to do the exhaust. So we're not going to go back on with the stock exhaust. We have something a little special for you. And what that is the new S&S Sidewinder 2-in-1 Black Chrome exhaust. That will make over this guy. Come take a walk. So nice thing about this exhaust is, as you'll notice, they're using stainless for the head pipe, and we have this nice black chrome finish. Would you look at that? Did you just look at it? Okay, how are you going to keep it clean, might you ask? There's only one option out there. It's called Shine Werks. Works in everything. Your windshield, paint, plastic, trim, chrome, exhaust. We already installed our flanges. We have already installed a wideband bungs, and we have already installed our factory O2 sensors. So as of right now, we do not have a tuner on this bike, but the nice thing that S&S did is they included the wideband bungs if we ever did want to upgrade that system. We used anti-seize, okay? Now there's a difference. You have your standard Tin Man silver, or you have this stuff, which this is my favorite. It's a high temp copper anti-seize. I have found that it works a little bit better. According to the instructions, we are supposed to install the rear heat shield first before going on the bike. So set that side in. Go ahead and do this side. Now we're just gonna leave these loose for now, so we have some wiggle room for when we go back together. So our rear is on. So on your stock exhaust, your flange pretty well covered by your heat shield, like so. So you really can't get to those exhaust bolts. But with the S&S heat shields, you have a little bit more room. So I'm gonna venture to say we can go ahead and install the front too. Make sure my tools are out the way so we don't mess up that nice finish. Again, we want to make sure that we're leaving a little bit of wiggle room for when we actually assemble, so we can adjust if need be. That's just fine. Okay, now we have new bolts for our transmission mount, which it will in turn be our exhaust mount. That's going to go over the front head pipe down here. As you can see, you can still get it on with the heat shield, so not too worried about that right there. So we'll come over here to the bike. We're going to remove these two here. Now you're going to wonder why we're not going to reuse these bolts here, because if you notice on this mount here, if we use a washer, it kind of overhangs. But the reason S&S is doing that is they want full engagement. So because we're losing some thread engagement on the mount, they included new hardware. So we're going to go ahead and use theirs, but not before. A little dab, that will do you. Little dab, little dab. Okay, so when we are installing this, we want to get it close. I don't really give you a whole lot of room in here. I'm going to ask for Danny's help because she has little fingers. This is where they say to pull the exhaust, and you can see that there's a little bit of a gap there. So we're going to flex the exhaust and we're going to pull it up over the gasket so that we don't damage the gasket. Push it up on there. Our flange nuts. like so. So now, this is where we are going to pause the game. We're going to switch over to our lower mounting bracket before we tighten all this up. Slide that guy over, just like that. Put our bolt in. And so we're going to alternate, because we don't want one side of the flange to be pulling harder on the exhaust than the other. Halfway down, we're going to switch to the front. Insert elevator music. We will be back with you after the short commercial break. I was looking for our shine works. Telling you, it's the only cleaner you're gonna need. Replaces everything else in the garage. And what we're doing here is we're adding a thin layer of protection in the form of a wax with every use. And along with that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna decrease the buildup and the road grime and the bugs and all that. So then when you go to use it the next time, everything comes off just a little bit easier. You're asking me, well, what about me? I have a matte paint job. Well, I got you covered. We have some nice little stuff called matte Werks. Well, some of you guys really like to detail up your motors, and you're like, well, you don't make anything for me. Bet your bottom dollar I do. It's called Engine Werks. Yeah, buddy. Why are you gonna buy someone else's stuff if we make it? You know it's the best. So our front set, come back to the rear. Just gonna alternate. Okay, next thing that we want to do is we want to test fit our muffler. Here we go. No turn back now. You ready? That's it. These are going to all right. We need 2 9/16. Here's one, here's another. Make sure they're both in the on position. We're gonna move on to this muffler clamp. We are cinching down the muffler slip joint, which allows you to take it on and off. And what is a muffler slip joint? It's this guy. So what we wanna do is we wanna go about 1/8 inch in from the top, and we're gonna seal it right here. Give us a nice firm, good seal. Get a little dab. A little dab-a-do-ya. Okay. Now that we got that set, now we're going to come back to our mount here. Okay. Then we're going to come over here. Now, before we get too much further, what we want to do is connect our O2 sensors. Listen for the audible click. That way you know you're connected. Spray the whole thing down. Gonna do this Mr. Miyagi style. Wax on, wax off. Just gonna buff it just like that. Make sure we're going all the way around. Getting all the fingerprints off.
What happens if you don't do that when you start it up?
Well, the oil in your hands will burn into the exhaust, and you have fingerprints all over the exhaust. Discoloration, we don't want that. Wax on, wax off. Look at that. Nice, not so nice. Nice, not so nice. Do a little buff job right here. Done. Look at that. That is nice. That is some black chrome. Now we can jump into the air cleaner now that we're finished with the exhaust. This one already has a Screaming Eagle exhaust on it, but we're gonna change that out right now. So apparently I need 5/32 and 3/16 to take this guy off. Doesn't make any sense to me, but okay. And then I need my 9/16, which is right here. Wow. All right, look at that. New S&S Tear Drop. Bringing back the old school without dropping literally everything. Run these guys in. Almost tight, not quite. Cool way that S&S did it is they have these threaded inserts here that once you get far enough, it'll actually thread through and stay in the air cleaner. Tighten these guys down here. Jump back to the breathers. Now remember that this is just plastic, so you don't need to, you're not torquing a head bolt. You're putting an air cleaner on. All right, and now we're gonna grab our filter element. Bam. Connect up our hose. Probably would have been easier for me to do when it was still off, but we got it on there. Now, there's a difference between a number 2 and a number 3 Phillips. If you want to keep these screws that have the black chrome finish on them nice, you are not going to use a number 2. You see this? Number 2? See how it's kind of loose in there? You're going to want to use a number 3. It fills the whole socket of the screw. You see that? Use a number 3. So we make sure that we're centered. There we go. Perfectly perpendicular. We're gonna Mr. Miyagi, the air cleaner. Get it all nice and shined up. Wax on, wax off, Danielson. All right, before I let you go, what we wanna do is we wanna get a little dab, and in the exhaust kit, you're gonna have these bolts. And what this is going to do is it's going to space out your floorboard from your exhaust so that we can not have any interference. And then we have our little spacer piece here. We'll get that guy set. We'll run this in, giving us a nice spacing on our floorboard. Really complement the exhaust. It is not this hard. I'm chewing through old Loctite. You can tap the holes. We didn't. It's just extra assurance. All right. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. That is the complete makeover of the S&S air cleaner and S&S Sidewinder 2-in-1 black chrome. On our next video, we're going to jump back into the handlebars and we'll get this thing back together.